Today we'll discuss how you can make money by sitting at home and doing nothing. Sounds good. Okay, a little bit about myself. Not many people know this. Most people think I'm a regular YouTuber, but in fact, I own a dynasty. I am actually a king of an island which is off the south coast of Australia. It's outside of mainland territorial waters, so it is in fact in international waters. Therefore, we are our own nation. How is this the case? How did I get this island? Did I somehow buy it with all my share earnings? No, I didn't. I inherited it. It is basically passed down this island from about 4 generations, and it is basically my birthright. So, what happens as king of this island? Well, first of all, I own all the property. It's a part of the kingdom. It comes with the birth. So, as a result, anybody who lives on this island actually pays me rent. 100% of the property is owned by the monarchy. We get 100% of the rent. It's just the way it is. It's the way that things should be on this particular island, according to my parents, and it's been passed down to me. So, source of income number 1 for me is the rents from my island. Secondly, we have quite a lot of people who live there, about 500,000. It varies according to the birth rate, and people come in from other countries and live there because of the work opportunities. We have a lot of industry on this island. We in fact manufacture cars. By law, everybody on my island must drive our brand of car, of course. And so we've got a ready-made market right there. We also ship our cars internationally to other countries, to Australia, across to some parts of Europe, and that's one of our industries that we make. And we have quite a number of our workforce who works actually in the car industry. The next thing is tech. What you might not know is on my island, 10% of all the AI research that's done across the world is in fact done on my island, and we basically get university graduates from Harvard, from Cambridge, from all over the place, and we have a thriving AI industry, and that's a good money earner for us as well. And so what happens with the industries that we have, such as the clothing industry, we have our own fashion brands, we grow our own food, for example. 90% of the food on the island is actually grown locally, and we can go up to 100% by royal decree, passed down through a few generations. We have to be completely self-sufficient as far as food is concerned because we're an island, and who knows, maybe shipping can get cut off or whatever. So we are self-sufficient, and we in fact export some of our food as well, so that's going well. So the second source of income is actually truckloads of cash which turns up at the palace, which comes directly from our industries, and that's pretty good. So what do I do on a day-to-day basis? Basically check the cash as it comes in. The industries don't need my attention. The workers are quite happy working there. Some of the best minds are working there. They're managed. I don't deal with the day-to-day, although I own everything, but all the decisions and all the actual real work is done by other people. For us, we just have the royal vaults, which is beneath the palace, and my job, so to speak, is just to make sure that the laws that have been passed down through the generations are in fact enacted, and the money basically keeps rolling in. Every couple of days, a new truck comes in, and some of it's digitized these days. Not everything comes by cash, but a lot of it still does. It's just the way we work. So that's a bit about myself, and if you are interested to get a piece of this action, I will tell you a little bit more. So obviously I'm not a king of an island. It would be very nice if I were. What I am though is I'm the king of my own investment domain. Let me tell you a bit about that. So properties on my island, my alleged island, we owned all the properties and we got all the rents from this. Do you know there is something basically identical in the real world? It's called REITs. REITs are real estate investment trusts. Basically, it's a trust. Think of it like a company, but its structure is a trust, and it owns massive amounts of land. Now, we're not talking farmland or anything like that. Most of this is commercial, so we're talking about big office blocks and we're talking about warehouses, things like that. So what you might not know is many of the big name companies that you buy from on a day-to-day basis, things like Amazon, things like your big supermarkets, mail distribution centers, all those sorts of things need massive amounts of warehouse spaces. So warehouse is not what the customer sees, off in some office park, etc. And REITs own a good substantial amount of that. So what you might think is that Amazon owns all their own warehouses. They certainly own some, but they do not own all of them. The reason is that it's far easier just to rent off an existing infrastructure. So we have REITs who deliberately build warehouses in really useful areas. What's a useful area for a warehouse? Well, right in the middle of good connections to interstate highways, for example, or just down the road from an airport or possibly a shipping port. They're excellent locations to put a big warehouse. So we build these warehouses within the REIT and then we hire them out. We are the landlords for Amazon and various other companies. So we're just like our hypothetical kingdom. We own all the land. In this case, we own the warehouses, the building, the productive assets, but everybody else does the work. Amazon negotiates a contract with us, pays us money, and we just sit back and let it all happen, basically. Now, management within the REIT does in fact have to make sure that the building and the services, the air conditioning, anything which is about the building is working. Any problems with that, they have to fix, and they have to keep things up to date. I, as a REIT investor, don't do any of that. So I sit back as the king of my REIT investing domain and the money just rolls in. The decisions are made, the hard work, all the work really, are done by other people, and I just sit back and, well, it's just the money coming in. So compare this with if you want to own your own house. You have to find the house first in the right neighborhood with the right demographics. That's all on you. That is your work. Then you have to haggle to get the right price, perhaps taking it to auction and paying the highest price. And then you own the house, maybe 3 or 4 months later, once the property has settled. Then you have to find somebody to manage it for you and to rent it. So that's going to be a real estate agent, and they're basically going to advertise the property which you pay for, and then they are going to get a tenant in and they're going to charge you a fee every single time. Now, your tenant ends up being pathetic, of course, and so they wreck the property. Well, there's a chance they will. Hopefully that won't be the case, but there is a chance they will. You go in, you get the keys, and lo and behold, the carpets, goodness me, and all the carpets need replacing before you rent out the property. Also, there are some walls which look absolutely disgusting, and so you've got to bring in workmen to fix them and some new repaintings. It's a lot of work, a lot of expense, and something perhaps you didn't factor in unless you've rented before and owned a house. It can be a bit of a money sink. So that's real property management as opposed to REITs, where you sit back as a king and other people do all the work and the money just keeps coming in. How much do they charge you if you own direct property? Well, hopefully the rent covers all the expenses, but if it doesn't, for whatever reason, you are personally liable for any taxes, for the fees to the real estate agent. Anything that needs to be fixed in the house, you have to pay for out of your own pocket. As opposed to a REIT, the REIT will never come back to you and say, oh, we have these bills that we have to pay. We'd like some more money from you. No, that never happens. So if you own a REIT, 100% of any expenses are kept within the REIT. You sit back as a king of the REIT and you just get the money. That's all. So that is REITs. Now, let's talk about industries. In this case, industries are companies which are actually manufacturing technology or actual real goods and paying you money. Now, I own things like Apple and Amazon and Google and a range of other companies. And do you know what? Tim Cook from Apple has not once yet asked me for my opinion on how he should run his company. I know it makes sense that he would, but I just tell him, Tim, look, mate, we're good friends, but I am far too busy to worry about your little company. I have so many other companies I need to look after. So, as you can see, once you own shares, you are not really responsible for anything. They don't ask you for any more money. There's no ongoing costs at all. There's no day-to-day work for you. In fact, there never is. what you do is you sit back as a king of your domain and you reap in all the money. Wow, this sounds good, but there are other ways you can make money too. Number one, you can go and get yourself a job. Well, what's involved in that? Well, first of all, there is a limit to the number of hours you can work. Next, you can get kicked out of your job at any moment's notice. Depends on the country, but in some countries such as the US, more or less, they don't have to give you a proper reason. As long as you're not in a protected group, something like that, they can just say, we've decided we don't want you anymore. Goodbye. And that's it. And you're out on your own. So work has a problem of limited hours. There's only 8, 9 hours, whatever, in a day. And also a limit on the amount that they're going to pay you. I don't think you can go to McDonald's and say, I would like $60 an hour, thank you. I think I'm a good employee. I've worked here for a year and a half. And I'd like $60 because, that's the only way to keep me. Well, good luck with that. So work has a limit to the amount that you can actually earn from it. So you think, well, I'm going to outsmart this system. I am going to start myself a business. So what business do you start? Well, you start an Etsy business, say knitting coats for dogs, maybe some little woolly jumpers, saying it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. Sure, that's original and unique, and you will sell a fortune on Etsy. Maybe. Maybe not as well. The problem with this is it requires your own work. Who is going to knit those jumpers for those dogs? Well, obviously it's going to be you, most likely, and if not, you're going to have to buy them in and receive the shipments, and you're going to have to do all the advertising. You will have to promote it. You will be there on Instagram saying #SmartDogJumper, and won't all your friends like your continual advertising to them? They certainly will. So, real businesses that you start require a lot of work, huge amounts of your attention, and you may even end up working more hours than if you work for somebody else. And that's the reality of having a business. In a sense, having your own business sounds like freedom, but in reality, it can be a straitjacket, which forces you to do things whether you want them or not, because, well, who else is going to do them, right? By contrast, you can be a king and own things outright. What's work? That's so 2021. We are here to own things outright. We don't want to busy ourselves with the day-to-day minutiae of what's going on. Well, that sounds all very good in theory, but how do I get my own kingdom of share ownership? What is the right company that I should buy? How do I know if I'm going to buy a dud? Will it go broke? Will it lose me 50% of my money? I need some help here. Also, what's this REIT that you're talking about, and how do I get access to those? That's what this channel is about. It's a finance education channel. We will cover all those topics and a whole lot more in upcoming videos. So stay with us. If this video gave you something to think about, hit the like button and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.